Color theory. That thing so many artists seem to struggle with. There's no shortage of videos exploring the topic already, but from my experience, each one I've ever clicked on barely explained the mechanic. And specifically, a video that was particularly interesting to me was this one by Ginja Ninja, aka June. Now, I've enjoyed June's videos before, it's why I clicked on this one in the first place. However, in this video of theirs, they go about wanting to study color theory despite admitting they don't really get it, and their solution is to boil down color theory to being replicating a color without using the color picking tool, and that's a valuable technique for an artist to practice. But that's not what color theory is. And ever since I watched June's video, I thought, hey, maybe it'd be fun to make my own video on color theory, and I finally decided to indulge in a little bit of fun. So make sure your ears are ready to listen and your brain is ready to learn, because Professor Twiins here is going to actually explain what the heck color theory is. There are two halves to color theory. There's the technical half and the analytical half. Both are integral for understanding color theory properly, and we're going to start with the basics and move up, which means we start with the technical side of color theory. Color theory is, at its core, understanding the color wheel and how the colors across it interact with each other. So before anything else, we need to make sure everyone understands the color wheel. First up, primary colors. Red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors in art. If you have these three colors, you can make any color you want. Now, importantly, this is in relation to paint. If you're mixing different colored lights, your primary colors are different, so if you're like me and you do art and theater, be aware that the rules will be different when lighting your stage. But the visual arts are our focus today, so let's go back to that color wheel. Next thing you need to know is the secondary colors. If you mix two primary colors together, you get the secondary colors. Red and yellow make orange. Yellow and blue make green. Blue and red make violet. Violet is just purple, but in the world of art, you call it violet. It just sounds nicer. That's just how it is. Pretty easy stuff, yeah? Most art classes will teach you this, so that means we get to move on from the color wheel, right? Wrong! Because we need to understand the tertiary colors. Colors aren't clean, straight squares apart from each other like in these sorts of wheels. They are a gradient between each other. Tertiary colors are the colors between primary and secondary colors. We have red, we have orange, and we have red-orange. We have yellow, green, and yellow-green. These tertiary colors are an integral part of understanding color theory and are often the thing I see people miss when they try to approach the topic. If this were a class, the first assignment I would have you do is to make a color wheel by using color swatches, like how you can find in the paint section of Home Depot and such. This teaches you how to see the difference between these colors. For example, the one that stuck with me the most was how true orange is a lot more yellow than I thought it was. We see a lot more red-orange in media than properly true orange, which just fascinated me. Hooray! The boring part is done! You now understand the color wheel, and you get to start painting. And for your first assignment, I would have you do a monochromatic piece. Monochromatic is often used as interchangeable with grayscale, which is technically inaccurate. Monochromatic. Monochroma, one color. A monochromatic piece would have you choose one color alongside black and white. Time for a black and white side quest. You'll notice black and white aren't on the color wheel, and it's because they aren't colors. They are a shade and tint, and it sounds pedantic, but it's an important distinction, because by adding shades and tints to your color, you produce a range of values within that one chroma. This green and this green are both true green, but this one is a lighter tint of that same color. Understanding the use of light and dark in a color to create depth and contrast is imperative for an artist, and black and white is an anchor of understanding that. I should also note that in a perfect world, you would be doing these homework assignments in physical paint, preferably acrylic or tempera, as it's the most accessible and has the fewest extracurricular elements you need to consider for use, like the density of paint and such. The reason for this is because understanding how to physically produce different shades and how different colors interact can translate really well to helping you understand how to get the color you're looking for digitally. Also, no cheating. If for any of these studies you choose to draw a character, you still need to be beholden to the limitations at hand. No monochrome outfit on a normally skin-toned person. You will have plenty of time to explore these concepts on your own. The point of this study is to learn how to use color, which means following the rules laid out properly. If you want to understand color theory seriously, then you need to take the lessons seriously. So, you finished your monochromatic piece. One color with white and black to create depth of value within that one color. Hooray! What you've learned here will follow throughout the assignments to come. And the next one's real fun because it's focusing on complementary colors. I think most people know that complementary colors are across from each other on the wheel. Red and green is probably the most famous example, but keep in mind that this also applies to tertiary colors. Yellow-orange is across the wheel from blue-violet. Now, the reason you want to know colors' complements isn't just because they look good together. It's to understand the mixed usage of two colors. Mix complementary colors and you get a muddy, anti-vibrant shade. Technically a brown, but brown is really just a muted version of any warm color, and that muting happens by integrating a cool color into the pigment. Understanding all the different ways complementary colors coexist on a canvas will do so much to help you understand how to give your art more impact and depth. Your second painting assignment is to choose 2 complementary colors and make 5 versions of the same piece using them, plus black and white. Now here's the real tip. Make it a small piece. The higher the quantity of pieces you need to produce, the smaller you should probably make it. This is a study exercise. 7-hour-long finished pieces isn't the goal right now. We're keeping things a little loose so we can maximize experimentation in the name of learning how to use your tools properly. I'll give you some examples of what these 5 versions may entail by telling you what I did for this assignment when I took my color theory class in college. I had a little demon guy and I chose green and red as my 2 complementary colors. One version I used white and black to create shadows for the green and then had pure value red as a pop of color. Another one I used reds as the shading color for my pure green. In another I mixed red and green to create the background color and only used white and black for the range of values throughout the demon guy in the foreground. The important thing to keep in mind here is that you are making the same piece with different techniques. Changing the allocation of colors is fun, but not the point here. If you just make 5 versions of the same outfit with the colors swapped around, all you've shown me is that you understand which 2 colors are complements and nothing else. Understanding how the mixing of colors can be used is the point here, and it's also the fun part, so have fun with this assignment. Figuring out how the fuck do I do something different again is a great exercise in helping you to know how to think about your art while producing it. Well done! You've mastered complementary colors. The next step is to understand analogous colors, aka colors that are next to each other on the wheel. In a way, this may feel like a step backwards towards the monochrome assignment we did first, but you'll find that you'll have a vibrant range of depth that is clearly different from monochrome. Choose 3 analogous colors, and as always, don't forget that tertiary colors count, and make a piece using only those alongside black and white. The homework would be to do this 3 times with 3 different triplets of colors. You've probably heard artists say that shading with black can be flattening. This is a great opportunity to explore that concept. Using the techniques you already explored with complementary colors here will have you utilizing your full range of values to create that vibrant depth that you just can't achieve with only black and white. For at least one of these pieces, I'd hope your middle value is secondary or tertiary. Utilizing the edge of color boundaries can help you understand this study to the fullest. Time for the final and most fun assignment, putting everything we've learned together, just like how we just did. You pick 3 analogous colors. Then you add the complementary color of the middle analogous color. Doing this will always lead you to a cohesive palette. You get that great depth with the analogous trio and the great pop from the complement. Do 2 pieces with this method for full homework points. I actually still have one of the pieces I did for this class for this assignment. As you can see, I've got blue-violet, violet, and red-violet alongside yellow. I think it would have been nice for the yellow light in the bushes to have been less opaque, but overall I think it's a lot of fun. The backlighting gives it a very cool sense of dynamism. Now you may be saying, Professor Twiins, it feels like you haven't explained color theory and you've just given us homework, so I'd like to make sure you understand the point of all that homework. Like I said earlier, color theory is understanding how the colors across the wheel interact with each other. The color wheel is a tool at your disposal, just like a brush or a layer property. The point of all that homework is so you can learn how to use that tool properly. So often, I see artists wander around the color wheel while working, randomly picking colors until they find something they like. These studies are having you learn how to choose a palette with intent and understanding, and the way you learn is by doing. You don't expect to be able to perform a Mendelssohn concerto on violin just because you watched somebody else do it, do you? You don't see a couple videos of people doing kickflips and expect to do one perfectly your first try, right? Of course not. You need practice. And the same goes for art. And these homework assignments are so you can understand how to practice color theory. And keep in mind, there are no hard rules with art. My video is to help teach you to understand color theory, but you can approach art however you want. Limited color palette, wide color palette, hell, make a piece that's just 4 different tertiary colors if you want. This isn't science or math, it's art, and there are no nevers or always in art. Worthwhile art lessons aren't what you should or shouldn't do, but rather teaching you what you can do. Congratulations! You now understand shades and tints, analogous and complementary colors. With everything you've learned so far, you have what it takes to make deliberate decisions when it comes to choosing a palette for your art moving forward. So now let's explore the more cerebral side of that decision making and shift over to the analytical aspect of color theory. Creating art is full of decision making, and with the technical side of color theory understood, you can make decisions based on your understanding of how colors interact with each other. With the analytical side of color theory, you can make decisions using your understanding of what colors mean. There's a good chance you've seen this Tumblr post before, where users discuss the use of red paint decorating the floors of a hospital. One user defends the idea by noting red's association with warmth, love, and strength, while others denounce it because it just looks like a blood trail. Now, technically, both users are correct, but we're gonna be putting a pin in that, we'll be coming back to that in a moment. Every color is associated with a multitude of different meanings. Red is a great example. Red is used to designate romance because of its association with red roses, red lips, and blushing red cheeks. Think of how often sexual characters are wearing red. However, red is also used to designate danger because of its association with blood, red hot metal, and one's face gone red with anger. This is why enemies are usually coded red in video games. Every color conveys information to the viewer, from well-known historical relevance like royals being the only ones able to afford purple clothing, to more emotionally driven examples like how blue's association with health because of the sky and water is why mages are often wearing it in RPGs. And this is where I feel like people start to scoff at color theory. I can so easily imagine some boomer laughing and going, "What do the colors make you feel?" in an annoyingly condescending tone, because while it is sort of the feeling of a color, there is a lot of science actually behind it. Something behavioral studies and psychology, blah blah blah. The point is that there is merit to these connections, and it behooves you as an artist to study what each color means, why it makes us feel the way it does. Cause like, yeah, you can make your poor character wear purple, but people's familiarity with the connotation between royals and purple clothing will lead audiences to assume that the character will become one later or secretly already is royalty. Which I think is a good time to mention that, just like with all things in art, you can deliberately be contrarian and go against the assumed norm for a myriad of reasons. Make the bad guy wear blue if their villainy is supposed to be a surprise. Making a dark or dour character colorful makes for a good gag. Hell, you can break the rules just because you want want to. You don't even need to do it to be a misdirection. Subverting expectations is just as useful as following them. But in order to bend and break the rules effectively, you need to understand the rules first. And to finally circle back around to this pin we left in our Tumblr thread. So, like I said, both users are correct in asserting things red can be associated with. The problem that user A makes is that they fail to consider context. Regardless of the hospital setting, red streaks across the floor is always going to evoke blood above all else. I've already discussed how colors each carry a multitude of meanings, and context is the secret ingredient you need to help finalize your smart color theory. Just a color palette on its own won't tell the audience anything useful. You need to know why you are choosing your palette, and also use the rest of your artistic know-how to convey that all properly together. The colors of a piece are part of a whole. Like I said, the color wheel is a tool, just like every other ability you practice for your art making. Let's take a look at one final example to put everything we've learned about how to analyze color theory, and for this, we're returning to Ginja Ninja's video. Now, the reason why I brought them up in the first place wasn't just to name drop a big creator at the beginning of my video. Honestly, I'm actually a little bit scared. I don't know. I'm worried their fans are gonna be mad at me for something. I don't know why. But actually, because their video features a really fun example of color theory that they unfortunately missed due to how they chose to approach the topic. June was sponsored for their video by Visions of Mana, a game I've never played and outside of June's video have never heard of. And I bring that up because even without knowing bub diddly about this game, the character Karina has such a fun color palette for analyzing. She is the reason why I thought this video would be so much fun, so let's discuss Karina. First, we look at the context. So, we're ignoring the colors and absorbing info from the design. She's a dragon folk, and side note, I appreciate that they didn't sexualize the 1,000-year-old dragon who looks like a little girl, and you don't even need to go to the wiki to know that. Her horns, wing, and tail make that obvious right out the gate. She's wearing a modified kasode, which paired with her fancy headdress tells the audience that she's probably important and relevant to the game's spiritual/magical elements. Now for the fun part. The colors. You'll notice right off the bat her overwhelmingly warm color palette. From her hair to her kasode and skirt, she's strongly landed in this region of the color wheel. And like, duh, she's a dragon. And yes, because people think being pedantic makes you interesting these days, I know that dragons are associated with water in China, but this game was made by a Japanese company, and quite often they follow the dragon equals fire formula. You see not only dragons themselves, but also dragon-coded characters often featuring warm color palettes, like Karina here. Even if the Alm of Wind here isn't literally fiery, she has a fiery personality and is repping her dragonkin blood with her warm palette. But that's not all. This isn't just fire type make her red, she isn't just a dragon, she's also a cute little girl. So her warm palette features a cute pink color rather than a more aggressive red, using her color palette to not only evoke her fiery dragonkin elements, but also at the same time emphasizing her cute girlishness is so fun and smart. You'll notice that Karina has a lot of colors on her, with her main palette spanning all across the wheel from yellow to red-violet, and that's okay. It's okay to break the 3 analogous colors rule if one wants a character with a more complex design like this. But pay attention to how the bulk of the design stays in those warm colors, and her accent colors of blue and a little bit of green still comfortably sit across the wheel from the center of her main warm palette. What we just did, discussing Karina's palette and why colors were chosen for her design, is color theory. And when you understand how and why these sorts of decisions are being made by artists, it allows you to appreciate character design, and really all art, on a whole new level. It's why I like color theory so much. And see? It's not so difficult or scary now, is it? A couple of bonus tips. Tip number 1, do not forget about the values one color can have. You don't need to spread across the color wheel each time you need a new color. Sometimes just adding white or black to your current value is all you need. Tip number 2. When designing a character, their skin tone is part of your color palette. Natural skin tones can range a lot, wandering across basically all warm colors, and this is true for light and dark skin tones. How yellow, orange, or pink your character's skin is will affect the rest of the colors in the design. If you were making an alien character, you would be particular on the shade of blue or green skin that you would give them, wouldn't you? The same level of thought still applies to real skin tones. Don't just default to one color for all your character's skin. Use this as a way to enhance your piece, just like how you would hair or eye colors. Tip number 3. Black and white are cheat code colors. If you're at a point where you need to add another color to a piece, but you already really are happy with the palette you have, just add black, gray, or white. Don't forget, they aren't really colors, so they won't hurt that good cohesive palette you've crafted. When nothing else seems to work, go to the grayscale. Tip number 4. Never forget the most important rule to making art. Have fun. Like I said earlier, this isn't math or science. There are no wrong answers. Make your art how you want it. Again, this whole video is not what you should or should not do. My goal has been to inform you on what you can do. A new way to think about your art process, but you do not need to follow my advice if you don't want to. You don't need to follow anyone's advice if you don't jive with it. At the end of the day, it's your art, so making sure you are happy with it comes first. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you decide to do the homework assignments, don't be afraid to add me on Twitter or Blue Sky. I think it would be a treat to see any of it pop up in my notifications. Thanks a million, and I'll see you next time.